Welcome to Navigating the Abyss. We are Teri and Catherine, two necessarily trauma-informed moms who, through our own journeys, were inspired to become conscious parenting coaches. We are here to share our ongoing learning and insights in the hope of bringing some new perspectives and clarity for parents who might be on similar paths. We hope you'll join us. Welcome, everybody. So in this episode, Teri's sharing with us a very concrete example of being triggered by her daughter's behavior, then a bit about her observations of what goes on inside herself as a mother. And then we talk about the decision we make to show up differently for our kids, to really manage and process our emotions in order to rise up, maintain the connection with them, and then guide them from love and wisdom and not fear. We hope you'll take what you need from this episode. Hi, Teri. It's great to reconnect again. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you too. Here we go. Yeah, we've got some things to talk about today, huh?
Always do. So tell me a little bit what's present for you, what's going on.
Well, you want to know what's happened to me today? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't sound so huge, I suppose. But in the context of what we've been through as a family, it brings up an awful lot. So I'll give you a bit of a heads up. So tomorrow would be my young person's first day back at college after a bit of a break. We call it a midterm break over here in England. And they've had a great chill out week or so. Thoroughly enjoyed, just not having to be anywhere in particular. And actually started engaging in a few projects towards the end of the week. Well, today though, being Monday and being that they have to show up for college on Tuesday, this morning was a bit of, I'm just going to say, a bit of a shit show. So they didn't need to be up early, but they did need to be up. They had an appointment with a chiropractor. So upon entering the bedroom of the teenager, at the pre-agreed time when they were supposed to already be up and showered, I get met with the expected kind of teen, what can we call it? Just that teen mode of, what the hell do you want? Why are you here? Leave me alone. I mean, that's being polite, right? Not too many words came out of her mouth, but there was an absolute disdain and an absolute kind of whole tone for, what the fuck are you doing in my bedroom? Anyhow, so trying to just get them to prop themselves up in time to just get in the shower and, do all the things. The voices in my head are really loud. Like, you should not be doing this for your 16-year-old. You should not be facilitating. You should not be the one that's getting their clothes ready, getting them up at this time of day when they should have been up hours earlier. All of these voices I can challenge. However, they're very present in that moment. So anyway, I go back to work. I had work to do. I had to go down to my studio and get on with some stuff. So I left them with that, like, you really need to be up in the next half an hour and showered, or else we're going to be late for this appointment thing. Sure enough, half an hour went by. And I already knew this was already mapped out because this is an everyday occurrence. This is the daily struggle. I knew that they would have put their head back on the pillow and gone back to sleep. So I come back out of my work situation and sure enough, still not in the shower. So I won't make a long story even longer. Eventually they got in the shower. And then it was like, Mom, can you help me do my hair before I go to the thing? And you don't really have enough time. But there I am, sort of lurking, hanging around, because it's a moment of connection, a possibility for me to be able to help my daughter do her hair while she does her makeup. And, it's like a scene out of Mamma Mia in my head. It's like going to sit there and do all the things, like as if she's going to get married or something. And we've got to treasure these moments. But I'm hanging around and hanging around and hanging around. And I knew she's getting later and later. So I called the guy who she's got an appointment with. And he says, it's okay, Teri, because he understands the struggle. And he's I'll give you, you've got another 15 minutes. It's okay. So we've got another 15 minutes. Are they ready? No. How long do I have to do their hair? 2 minutes. And then I have a dilemma. Do I help them do their hair? Or I just go, hey, no, natural consequences. I'm sorry. You go with wet hair. It sucks. What can I do? So anyway, I do their hair. So all of this, all the time, anxiety is growing and growing inside of me. And all the time, there's not an ounce of gratitude or thank you, Mom, or it's just this kind of fury that's internal in her, and she's just really angry to even be in this space where she has to be doing anything, and everything that I'm going through is just an aside, right? It's non-existent, except it is existent because I'm also aware that she's got this struggle in her, which is going, now I'm upsetting my mum too. So we do the hair, we do the things. She's running late, and then, you know, as she's about to go down the stairs, there's Dad at the bottom of the stairs. He's driving her to said appointment, and, you know, some words came out of his mouth which were very unhelpful, you know, kind of like, for real. And I'm like, I just said, that's not helping. So anyway, this is the daily struggle, and out they go, and this happens, and then they come back in a way better mood, and it's all, you know, it's all hair and makeup, lovely, and then off they go into town to go get a coffee, and it sounds so minimal with the headline, but it's the daily struggle that I'm feeling.
Yeah, and I think you highlighted so many of these key issues that, you know, that we face with them, because one is this kind of dance of wanting to be supportive, but then not wanting to disempower, right? And wanting them to take agency in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Two is the need and understanding of the need connection before everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so three is the real world.
The real world
You have an
beckons.
appointment, and 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 clocks exist, and there are natural consequences, but then there's a cost that everyone's up paying when appointments are missed, or when, you know, they miss a certain amount of school and then they can't continue going or whatever. So there's a, you know, when do you draw the line there? So there's a lot. I mean, this is not like a, when you brought it up first, that was like, oh, it's like just getting them ready for out the door, but it actually brings up a lot of the issues that we face, right? And I think that one around how much to do, it's so hard, right? Because we really want to go in, and because we've seen so many, you know, them be in such dark places. So, you know, our deepest instinct is like, just kind of, what bumps can we smooth over for them?
Absolutely.
And
And
then, right?
yeah, when you come at, when what you mentioned just then was, you know, yeah, as I say, the header for this, you know, if we were to write what's the topic I'm talking about today, it does seem minimal, and yet this transposes onto most days of the week. I'll be honest, most days of the, certainly college days,
Mm-hmm.
but more importantly, it's the same set of emotions, almost the set of conversations as when we were in a crisis situation. And I'm feeling and sensing into all of those parts that come to the fore, which is, am I doing too much? Am I doing too little? Am I connecting first? Am I connecting too much? Am I helicoptering? You know, how much of this is me disempowering my young person? How much of this is me showing them that they have worth and value? That's the question. And I think it was exactly the same when we were in a situation where she was reaching for the blade. I don't think it changes all that much, you know, but it just has this sense of raw urgency, of course, at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting too how, and I think that what you've developed is this ability, though, to see this happening.
Mm.
You can see, you know, in the moment, you can see, okay, I want to connect, but I want to also give her space. I want her also to take responsibility. You're seeing this as it's happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, you know, what are the emotions you're feeling while this is going on? And how do you work through them so you don't
Yeah.
end up screaming, "We got to get out the door now!"
Yeah. Oh, it's so close. You know what? Sometimes it's just beneath the surface. And I think that just the teachings, I'm
Yeah.
really, really happy that you shone a light on the fact that it's all been about, you know, what was going on there was I was in a dialogue with myself. It was absolutely true. When I say a dialogue, because I think there's so many parts in all of us that, you know, are coming up at the same time. And it's important. It's been important for me to acknowledge that it's anxiety, often extreme anxiety, but I am not extreme anxiety. A part of me is extremely anxious. And so that's been afforded me the opportunity to witness myself, and actually in those situations notice how anxious a part of me is, and also notice these other voices. Am I too much? Am I not enough? All the things I just said. So that's the first thing I would say has been really helpful, has been the ability to witness myself in those moments. Now, first and foremost is the conscious pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, so bringing that in, having a little bit of room to breathe and notice exactly where I'm at. Because that gut reaction of just like, oh, are you kidding me? That's right there. It doesn't leave, but it's catching that moment.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that the pause and then the reflecting on what is actually going on. And I think what you said is so important. And this is, we don't hear it. I mean, you hear it sometimes, but I think not enough, is that anxiety, that you are not that anxiety. Because I think sometimes we feel like when we're anxious, it's like, that's who I am. It's consuming me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not able to tap into the other, the wiser, calmer self that can step back and see the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just acknowledging that's a part of me that's anxious, but I am not that anxiety. And I am actually have this wiser, kind of more visionary, forward thinking, expansive part of me that I can tap into.
Yeah, and I think in those moments,
Which you are, which you do, right?
It's very hard to reach those wiser parts when you're in that mode of like, I mean, it's keeping it real. It's kind of like, I mean, there was my husband at the bottom of the stairs going, "Are you kidding me?" Like with his hands literally waving in the air, and I'm like, that's everything I'm feeling inside, but so much more I've got inside me, but I am not expressing it. So I'm like, that's not helpful. So coming back to myself, all I knew was that pause, because until I've paused and until I've been able to really notice this reactivity in me, then I can't access anything else. There really has to be a few moments to breathe. So that's been the most helpful thing, that the awareness of it all. The voices in my head, I still reckon with those. I do, honestly, Catherine, because sometimes, am I too much? Am I too little? But one thing I do know for sure, 100%, which I don't doubt, I don't question, is Shefali's teaching of connect before you correct. Finding a way through, making those opportunities, also making a point. I didn't just take it all. I didn't just let it go. I was able to say, okay, let me just tell you what's going on for me right now. Right now, Dad's late for work. I'm late for work. You've got your appointment and you're making him late. And there's a lot that's going on in this moment right now. And I can see that you're really stressed out. And here I am doing your hair. Just kind of narrating almost what's happening without apportioning blame, stating facts was kind of helpful. But always afterwards, I still go into this questioning thing, how much of me was shaming, because that's my natural instinctive conditioning, which is, to blame, what the hell do you think you're doing? Do you realize how much you're upsetting everybody else? All of the things that I grew up with that through no fault of my own parents, that's something that landed for me all the time, which, so I have to also go back with hindsight and just check in with myself, how much of that was shaming and how much of it was just factual and explaining how I feel in those moments.
Yeah, that's right. And I think in those moments, and sometimes what works for me is just remembering when I'm feeling like the need to react, what can I do? How can I shift this? What can I do differently? And just this knowledge, I need to make a different decision and not continue down this path. And just reminding myself that I can pivot.
Yeah.
And
it's hard sometimes.
So
I remember those early teachings, and we've talked about this in a different episode, about walking around the house with my finger on my lips, just zip it. It's not time to talk. Hold on, put it on a shelf.
Yeah, but it does, it does, but they seem like such small things.
They're not, are they?
But they aren't.
No.
And the more you practice them, they make some pretty monumental changes. And I think the
you do.
one thing too, and I've noticed that we both, just from working with people and our clients, and is that is just developing that self-awareness,
Hmm.
developed the ability to kind of step back and see what's happening,
Hmm.
because that is the first step.
Absolutely. And acknowledging our common humanity in all of this, I think, is really important. We can do all of the work, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to get that word triggered. It's going to happen.
Hmm.
Viktor Frankl talks about the moment between stimulus and response. You can react or you
Hmm.
can respond. You have the opportunity, and that's what the conscious pause is about, getting into that zone where you've got an
Hmm.
opportunity to just notice and make a choice rather than just, vomit out whatever is coming up for you in those
Hmm.
moments. But it takes a
Hmm.
lot of biting your lip, biting your tongue, and there's a ton of stuff that you might even be 100% correct about that you want to just shout. It's just
Hmm.
holding back a little bit.
Yeah, and another thing I think your story reminds me of is that how different each kid is and how diverse their needs are,
Hmm.
right? So when I hear you talking, I think at this point, I'm in a place where I'd like her to take as much responsibility for her life as she can, because she's almost 18. And so I, but I even, and so I don't get in the shower, get ready. I mean,
Mm.
we're not at that place right now. It's more like, hands off as much as possible. And then
Yeah.
when things kind of go south, just trying to bring curiosity. Oh, I wonder what happened. Well, I wonder what you can do to avoid that, so you don't feel, crappy about missing school or whatever
Right.
tomorrow, or, just kind of bringing up those questions.
Yeah.
Um, because there's nothing I can say. I mean, there's not, I know her, so I know she already feels bad if she misses school. I know there's not as bad as maybe I'd like her to feel, but, but there's
Yeah.
something going on, there's a process going on there.
She has her
And
own values
so,
around it all. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's hard to step back. And I think even in your case, um, I think you probably would agree it would be much better for her to have missed the chiropractor appointment than to explode it into something where you were angry and yelling and
Mm.
or whatever, that you broke the connection and she was feeling really bad about herself and bad about having, you know, caused problems with your schedule and her dad's work obligations,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. When I saw her dad at the bottom of the stairs, sort of echoing, and he knew not to say it very loudly because he's been, he's done a lot of this work too. And
Mhm.
I looked at him and I went, well, that's where he's at. So I won't be handing over to him right now. So here's where I'm at. And yeah, knowing that had I allowed it to come through me and out of me without that pause, we would have been in such a messy situation that would have taken way longer to clear up than the alternative, which was to, just take that time, take a moment, take the pause, just breathe, and then just state the facts as and when they were needed, and do the things, make the choices, make the decisions. I had these questions, is it right or wrong? Let it go. Just show up in the way that you need to show up in that moment. And I love what you just pointed to about your daughter as well. Taking those moments is what I heard. Where you've got opportunities where things are calmer, where there's a bit more
Mhm.
stillness day to day, or there's a bit more humor, lightheartedness, and you can bring in the, hey, and I did manage to do this later on this morning, which was, hey, it's kind of tough. You're going back to college tomorrow, right? I bet that, you're not really looking forward to that. I'm getting a sense. And then a conversation could happen and evolve. And, how's it going to be tomorrow morning? Because that's the big deal, right? Tomorrow is and this today was just a practice for tomorrow. And once again, we'll be in that daily
Mhm.
struggle. Only it'll be even more so. So today was a dry run. Tomorrow's the
Mhm.
full on. Are you actually going to get in the vehicle and go tomorrow to college? So yeah, taking those moments is another key takeaway, I think, for me, which is it's about checking in and just saying, hey, I noticed, things weren't so great this morning. When I woke you up, did it feel like a little bit of a precursor to what tomorrow might bring? Yeah. And then there's there's again some connection, and we've all had an opportunity, sometime
Hmm.
later. It was an hour or so later to calm down.
Yeah, and I think, part of what drives this, I mean, at least I know in my case, is that I think somehow if I can make these little things happen, like if we can just you can get to this doctor's appointment, or if you can just get to school at this time, or if you can get, then the rest of things will fall into place. But that's not the
It's not true.
it's not the case. It's not true.
It's not true. And we've
So we
had,
put too much importance in these little, because really, the big picture, the child healing, or is not about, it's not a linear process.
it's not, and the old me, I'm hearing the old me contest that. The old me would have
Mhm.
wanted to say, "Oh yeah, that's all very well and good if it's a ballet or a tap lesson, or even a chiropractor appointment. But if it's education, they need to go. Every kid has to go. Everyone has to show up. They have to go through the system. They have to come out just like all the other kids. That's the old
Mm-mm.
me. And now I hear myself, and I just said, what matters most is my kid okay? Are they,
Right.
how are they in their own skin? How is their soul? How is their heart? You know, yeah.
Yeah, and I hear you saying, I mean, I think that's, what a lot of the work that we do is around false beliefs,
Mm,
right? And the belief that, just as you said, if, education, and if they don't go to school every day, and if they don't, something terrible will befall them, and that you failed miserably as a parent,
yeah. Look at all their
right?
peers
But
doing
we,
so well. Yeah,
right. But it's
yeah,
all false. And, we know all that. It's a veneer, right? They can look like they're doing what, and then who knows what's really happening. But really what's important is
exactly.
their internal, their integrity, and their feeling okay about themselves, and they're sort of um, being given the space to find their way,
Mhm.
within boundaries. Um,
It doesn't
but I
have,
think that,
yeah, it doesn't have
yeah,
to
I
look
think
like
that
everybody else. Mm,
it doesn't have to look like everybody else. And again, I think it's that, as we talked about at the beginning, it's that balance between, yes, giving them the space to explore and define and kind of co-create their life, and at the same time, having certain expectations, because life has those expectations, and
mhm.
there are effects, and there are, what am I looking for? Cause and effect exists,
Yeah.
and they're part of that. So, that balance is critical,
And they have their
right?
own values and they have their own priorities. And although they don't necessarily know which path their life's going to take, or in many ways, they don't know which way they're going to travel, whether it's career
Mm.
wise, whether, just anything in terms of how they want to show up. Um, I think what matters is it is theirs and they will figure
Hmm.
it out. And there is no time limit. And,
Hmm.
it's the challenge, but we chose to have them. We chose to bring them. Lord knows we didn't know what we were in for because nobody tells you. But,
Yeah.
that said, I've learned and I continue to learn so much that I'll always be grateful for this ride, because it is a ride. It's a ride. It's a ride of human experience that
Yeah.
I'm grateful for. But boy, yeah, highs and lows, ups and downs. It certainly takes its toll, and
Yeah.
our systems get pulled all over the place, and that is the human experience, and making those emotions all equal. Up, down, high, low, sadness, happiness, anger. You know, um, all of the things are valid and necessary for us to experience, but there's something comforting about just understanding that too. That the
Hmm.
ride is the ride is the ride is not all about trying to make it
Well, and
beautiful.
just accepting,
Mm,
surrendering to that
exactly.
reality, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, I think so much of our struggles is around trying to, is because we haven't accepted.
Yeah, 100%.
And we
Yeah,
think that that we would be happy, or we'd be better off if somehow we'd been able to orchestrate some different outcome. But that's not the case. This is it at all.
it's not the case. No.
So
So I wonder if we
yeah.
can sum up any takeaways from our conversation today for you, me both, and anyone that's listening. So I'm thinking, like,
Yeah.
I started this conversation to talk about my struggle this morning, and then that quickly became, oh yeah, it's a daily struggle. And then it's like that struggle transposes onto a number of different situations. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about the conscious pause, taking time. We've talked about witnessing ourselves.
Witnessing ourselves, absolutely. We talked about recognizing that you don't have to identify with those emotions. Like you are not that anxious
Right.
person. There's another
Yeah.
part of you, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
Um, Seeing that their needs are different. Like every kid's needs are different, and like in being attuned to what those needs are, despite what you're being told
Mm.
or what you've been conditioned to believe.
Yeah, as Gabor Mate says, The Myth of Normal, that's his book. Everybody should
Hmm.
read that. Totally true. Yeah, The Myth of Normal.
Hmm.
Not such a thing.
Hmm.
And being kind to
Anything
ourselves,
else?
acknowledging the
Yeah.
common humanity of it all, how we're all in this together. Everyone's in the struggle, because it is the daily struggle, right? Everybody's got a version of the daily struggle. Even if it's not daily, everyone's got a version of what's familiar. And
Yeah.
acknowledging that that all of us, with our young people, all of us are having a version of it.
Hmm.
And yeah, and appreciating that just because everybody's not happy doesn't make it okay. Doesn't make it not okay. It's okay
Hmm.
not to be okay, and to have the full human experience of all the different emotions. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
pretty
And
much.
yeah, well, I think an important component of that is that, often when we're not okay, or our kids, especially if our kids aren't okay and if they've struggled, we did try, like, instinctually, and we've talked about this before, is to try and get them past those emotions. Oh, you'll be fine. Oh, it's not as bad as you
Oh,
think.
yeah.
Oh, it's right. A lot of that. And I think what we're learning, which is critical, and I actually have a story about this I can share maybe for another episode, but is, like my daughter the other day, she said she's struggling with some boy issues, whatever. And she's like, oh, it doesn't matter, you know, if he breaks up with me, and it doesn't matter. I can find someone else. And I said, wait, slow down. It actually will matter. And you actually will feel like crap, probably, likely. And that's okay. It's okay to just feel like crap, but also know you'll make it through. But you may
Hmm.
feel like crap for a couple days.
I love that, and that's the message
And not
for.
trying to reason yourself out of it, like not trying to
Yeah.
reason them out of it, or use, no, actually you won't. And you're much, you've got, there's, time in your life, and you've got so many people around you, and, none of that. Just like, yeah, it will really suck.
I felt that today as well with mine, and I just said, I know that it kind of sucks right now that you're at college and you're not making friends. I appreciate that. That really sucks. Um, and I can also see a version of you where that is going to be different. But yeah, how are you
Hmm.
feeling right now? And she's like, not great. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's just stay with that for a minute. It is what it is. And I can see a time when
Hmm.
things can be better. So yeah,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
sweeping through, but staying with. And I was, as I was hearing you say
For
that,
them and for us, right?
for
For
us
them and for
too.
us.
Yeah, 100%. Well, this has been
Hmm.
a great opportunity for me to upload. And I just want to say, I hope it's helped somebody. That's really why I'm doing this, right?
I
But
think so.
I'm just grateful for the opportunity. If it helps people, then that's awesome. We'll find out, won't we, over time?
Yeah. No, it was great processing with you, and great hearing your reflections. It's always so helpful for me too.
Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you,
signing
Teri.
off for now. We'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, here's the legal stuff. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. See you next time.